people want to have a positive impact on the environment, animal welfare and their own health. But did you ever think that this would include eating fly larvae? Well, here to tell us more is LOUWRENS HOFFMAN, Professor in Meat Science at the University of Queensland. Professor, welcome. Now I've got to ask, just how often do you eat fly larvae?
Thanks for inviting me on the show. So the fly larvae, I have eaten them, and in fact, interestingly enough, when I ate some that was made in an ice cream from my PhD student, I had a slight allergic reaction, and from that we went into the study further and actually found that people who are allergic to crustaceans, such as I, could also be allergic to the black soldier fly larvae. Because of that, I don't eat it as often as I would.
Well, that's a pretty good reason not to eat it. But I've got to ask, what does it taste like?
Well, the fly larvae per se is quite creamy. And obviously, in the ice cream that I ate, it had a bit of a sweetener we added, so it tasted a lot sweeter than one would expect. But I grew up on a farm in Zimbabwe in Africa, and we were used to, as kids, going around and eating flying ants. So to me, the idea of eating insects isn't that novel. You know, within Africa and the rest of Asia, for example, it's eaten quite regularly.
So is this something then that you really believe that we'll be eating in the future?
I think so. You know, I'm a trained meat scientist, but that said, if I look at the consumers of today, particularly the youth, they're very aware of the sustainability of our protein and the sustainable production of our protein. So I don't think insects will take over from meat, but I do believe that we will be eating more insects, definitely, as we try and meet the nutritional requirements of the masses, and also because it's more biologically better for the planet, because the insects are grown on food waste that would actually just go to landfill and compost. So it's just an upcycling, valorization of organic waste. And by waste, I mean basically the vegetables that are too ripe, or the bread that's moldy that we don't want to eat anymore. So it's a way of getting that protein back into the human food chain.
Are there health benefits when it comes to the comparison, I suppose, of eating meat from animals and eating fly larvae?
So if you eat the fly larvae as it is, it basically consists of fats, fatty acids, proteins, and then chitin. So chitin is that hard shell that you get in an adult insect, right? So the fatty acid is determined by what you feed it on. So if I feed my larvae on, let's say, fish waste, then it's going to have a highly polyunsaturated fatty acid profile. The amino acids of the proteins are quite similar, irrespective of what I grow it on. So some of our work, we've separated the chitin, which is the fiber part, and the fatty acids and the protein, and that protein's amino acid content was of such high quality that the target would be for elite athletes, as an example, because it's so well balanced. So will it be healthy? Definitely.
So how easy will it be to farm? I mean, is this something that's going to be commercially viable in your view?
Well, there are two groups that are farming with them. The one is the backyard. So yeah, at my home in Queensland, in Brisbane, there are black soldier flies flying around, and I leave my compost bin open and they lay their eggs, and I've got larvae growing there. That's the one. But the other one is commercial, and commercially in Australia, Africa, Europe, United States, Canada, there are a number of large industries that have already sprung up that are actually using black soldier fly larvae and to feed them on organic wastes. And then from there, the larvae is either destined into animal feed or human food. Of course, with the human food, there's also a lot more regulations applicable than if it was for animal feed.
Well, I suppose on that, how do you convince people to eat black soldier fly larvae? I mean, surely there's going to be psychological barriers to eating fly larvae. I mean, you're probably the exception to the rule, but when it comes to talking and having a conversation to most people, they'll probably won't have tried it before.
Yeah, I think within the Pacific Asian countries in Africa, it's not a problem. They're used to eating it, but the research has shown that amongst Westerners, the idea of just eating larvae, they're not very keen on that. So the way it would most probably go would be if it was masked in another product. So, for example, we made some beef burgers where we replaced 25% of the meat with a black soldier fly larvae, and we had increasing levels, but up to 25% of that black soldier fly larvae in the burgers, the consumer couldn't tell the difference in the taste and were quite happy to eat it. I think the yuck factor comes in when they actually see the larvae. So the Westerners would like to see it masked a bit.
So when you look out over the next sort of 5 to 10 years, Professor, what do you see the meat alternative market looking like?
I think it's going to grow, but it's not going to grow as phenomenal as it has in the past. There will always be meat consumers. I think the challenge is to get the mixture right. And what I mean by mixture is we see that the youth tend to be more flexitarian than vegetarian, for example, or carnivorous or omnivorous. And by flexitarian, they will most probably 1 or 2 meals a week opt for a non-meat dish rather than to go just no meat. What we need to remember as pertaining to the meat versus vegetarian diets, even if we wanted to cut out meat totally, there is a large area of the earth that the only thing you could do is have a ruminant, in other words, a sheep, a goat, or cows, to utilize that. Most of the arable land has already been utilized, that is suitable for growing crops, is already being used to grow crops. The exception, of course, is the forests that are being cleared to grow crops. And I think that's where the problem is. But I think we underestimate the youth. They realize that they need to make something and have to push and force changes if we are to survive on this planet. So I think meat will always be on the dish, but I think on the way ahead, there's going to be more a flexi diet rather than just everyone becoming vegetarian.